What's up, everybody? Hopefully you can hear me because I know it's like raining crazy today and the wind is probably blasting the microphone on this thing. But hi, I should look at the camera. Hi, I am heading to the Amtrak station because I am going to shoot the first interview and photo shoot for my new 1VK1 like docu photo series. I haven't named it yet. I originally was gonna call it Dope Humans. By the time this comes out, I might have changed it by then, so I don't know. But yeah, whatever the title is above this video, that's what the name of this new photo series is. My goal with this photo series is to sort of take a bit of inspiration from the human concept. Not the human concept that people have come to know, like crazy abstract shit, but like the collegia human concept that was inspired by all of the characters that you meet in college. But the thing is, I shot with people, these are real people that fit these descriptions, like the guy from Greek life, or the college professor, roommates, the acting student. Like I sat down and talked with a bunch of different people and just took pictures of them in their natural habitat in college. And then, the human concept sort of grew into this more abstract, cinematic type project. I'm getting back to my roots with this project, where I'm actually going out and interviewing and doing photo shoots with people, like real life people, not characters that I've created for the human concept, but actual people that are doing awesome things, actors, doctors, artists, all types of different people. Hence why I wanted to call it Dope Humans, because they're dope people. They're dope humans that are doing dope things for the human race, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be the title, but I want to take you all along for the ride. I want this to sort of be like a vlog type thing. Like once I get into the interview process, that's going to look a little bit more formal, but at least for my journey there, I'm going to kind of allow you all to see the behind the scenes of me, getting my thoughts out and preparing for it. So this is the first one. I'm about to hop on the Q line and head down to the Amtrak station, and I'm heading to Ann Arbor, to U of M's campus. I'm going to interview amazing musician and one of my good friends, Steven, who is also a social work student there, and he's gonna start studying music composition really soon. He wants to be a composer, and I've had the opportunity to hear some of his work, and it is really good, and he's a really awesome dude, and I'm really excited for him to be the first dope person, if I call it that, dope human, in this photo series. So take you all for the ride. This is also my first time riding on a train, so I love trains. This should be fun. Okay, bye. guess that sounds weird. Um, Tell us about yourself. Let's make it simple.
All right, make it simple. Okay, so I'm Steven, Steven Berkemeier. I am a musician, composer. I've been involved with music basically my entire life, but it wasn't until about a year ago that I decided this is what I actually want to do with my life.
When did you start playing music, and then when did you start making music?
Oh boy, all right, so when I start playing music, it's hard to tell. Definitely in elementary school. Started singing, I think, in like first grade is when I first discovered that I could sing. And but I grew up. My dad's a musician. All my older siblings were musicians. All my older cousins were musicians, and so I always wanted to learn the trumpet from a very young age. So the moment the school band started, that's when I joined right in and picked up trumpet. And I think around that same time, I was also taking some very brief piano lessons because I had finally convinced my mom to find a teacher for me.
So did you continue playing trumpet in U of M's band?
For a bit. Actually, it's a little unorthodox. I played trumpet all through high school. And coming into U of M, I had a very no-nonsense, have to get good grades, have to get a good job that pays lots of money kind of mentality. And so as much as I didn't want to, I ended up dropping music for quite a while. And so I really regret that. But my senior year, after about 4 years of not touching my trumpet, I decided I was going to get back into it because I really missed it. And so I joined the campus blue band, which was a band, didn't require any auditions, didn't require anything, just submitted a piece of a recording of you playing, and they would give you a chair and some music, and you got to play. And that was really cool because I ended up getting second chair, which was really unexpected. So, of course, I felt pretty good. But it was, and for that, I started taking studio lessons as a class for trumpet with an amazing graduate student who was a trumpet player. So I was getting amazing, wonderful lessons from her, and she was teaching me a lot more about technique. And so after that, I decided that if I came back to U of M, I was going to try out for the marching band, which I consider to be one of my biggest regrets, is never doing the marching band. So when I found out that I was coming back for my master's in social work, I auditioned for the marching band. The associate director at the time was very supportive, and so I auditioned for trumpet and ended up playing horn instead, which was really fun. I met a lot of amazing people, tons of memories, and it was a life-changing experience. It really was.
When did you start composing music?
Oh, composing music. My roommates will tell you it was in high school because they love to make fun of me for it. Because we've known each other for a long time, and I wrote one piece for piano in high school, and anytime I saw a piano, I'd sit down and play it because it was the one piece I knew how to play on piano. And so they still tease me from time to time. It's like, oh, yeah, you remember that song you wrote? Like, you used to play it every time. It was so annoying. But that was the first time I actually wrote a piece. And then in college, I minored in music. And there was this fantastic theory course. I'd taken a couple of theory courses. It just wasn't clicking. I wasn't getting it. That was always my weak point. But I took a course at the residential college here at U of M by an amazing professor named Khatri. And her style just really clicked with me. And suddenly I understood music theory in a way I'd never understood it before. And so at the end of the semester, we had an assignment where we had to write a piece. So I ended up writing a duet. I think it was for clarinet and flute. Maybe it was a trio. Yeah, it was a trio, actually. Clarinet, flute, and cello. And that was my first actual piece that I wrote and actually notated. And she was very supportive of that. And so that was my first actual official written piece. And that was, I think, my junior year in college.
Wow. Yeah. How many pieces have you composed since then?
I have no idea. Sorry, I wish I could remember. It's all over the place. I've only actually notated a handful.
Okay.
I'd say about 15 or so that I've notated to various degrees. And as I've continued studying music through my master's in social work. Because early on, I realized, like, you know what, I love the school, I love everything, but social work's not for me. It's like, so I'm here, I'm not going to drop out, but I'm going to use every single elective credit I can possibly get and shove it into the School of Music. So I found some amazing mentors here who were just incredibly supportive, and I learned a lot. So I started learning more about styles, about what it's like writing a fugue, rondos, learned about tango and mariachi music. Those are very important to me with my family background. And so I had a lot of fun with writing those. And I knew almost from the very beginning that I wanted to compose for musical theater. And so about 1 year ago, I went back home and saw a musical being put on by my old high school. And I ran into the accompanist who always played piano for the musicals. And we knew each other pretty well. And I ran into each other, caught up, and she asked what I was doing, told her all about my music. And she got excited because the guy who does the sets for all the musicals was actually writing a musical and was looking for a composer. So she put us in contact, and he sent me a piece of his script, so I wrote a piece for it. I wrote a bit of music for it, submitted it, and he really liked it. So since then, I've been collaborating with him and a few others to bring this production to life.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Being a composer, I think being an artist of any form, I feel like it's almost, I guess, obvious to draw inspiration from some of the greats within whatever that form of art is.
Yeah.
So when it comes to composing music, who would you say has inspired you the most as a composer, and do you draw from that inspiration when writing your pieces?
Oh boy, that's really hard to answer. I get inspired by so many people, especially with and for different reasons. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm half Mexican, and growing up, the culture of Mexican culture was very present in my family, very present in my household. And so seeing a composer who actually brought so much of the Latino culture to stage in a production like In the Heights was just astounding and got me really excited. And I was like, you know, I want to write music like that. I want to be able to I want to share my culture. And so he inspires me a lot about bringing my ethnic identity into my work. Then Pasek and Paul, I actually have to credit them with a lot. At my graduation ceremony, since they were alumni, they actually performed, and that was really cool. They wrote a piece for the university because it was our 200th anniversary, and it was this huge thing. And I remember seeing them up there performing, and it was supposed to be a big day for me. I was graduating. I had all these honors in my name, and I'd done all these things, but at the risk of sounding arrogant. But truthfully, I had accomplished quite a bit as an undergrad. And I was set up to have an amazing career in research and psychology. But all I could think of at that ceremony, seeing them on stage performing with some of my friends, was I have made a terrible mistake. It's like, I enjoy this, but it's not what I want to spend my life doing. And so they really gave me a nudge to decide, like, I need to start reevaluating, thinking what I want to do with my life. And then not too long later, I saw a video from their workshop on Greatest Showman that did its rounds on social media of Hugh Jackman singing From Now On, I think, with the rest of the cast. And there was this whole thing, because he'd had surgery on his nose and he wasn't supposed to sing, but he still sang. And just seeing the fun and the passion and the hard work that was going into that video, I thought, this is exactly what I want to do. And I think at that moment, it hit me that, I gotta change the direction my life's going in. So I really credit them with a lot. And then of course there's a whole bunch of other composers that have just had huge impacts on me. As far as Hans Zimmer, I remember taking his master class, and that was that was amazing. That was wonderful. And he had just so many insights to share. And there are just I love the score from Attack on Titan. There's just so many people who have influenced and so many artists who have influenced my style.
So talking a little bit about your cultural background, what? Your cultural background. We'll cut that out. And how that's inspired you as a musician. Where does your, I guess I'd say your parents or your family play a part in when it comes to inspiring? Because you talked a little bit about that part of your, like sort of inspiring you to be a musician.
Yeah.
But how has that part of your life specifically inspired pieces that you've created now as a composer?
Oh, like culturally?
Yeah.
So there are two pieces in particular that really inspired it. There's a tango I wrote for two trumpets and piano. And that one was greatly inspired. That was the first time where I thought, I really want to start learning more about Latin music. And so that was the first part where I actually got into the nitty-gritty, learned about form, learned about technique, and taught myself what it takes to actually write a piece like that. Then afterwards, I ended up going to the music library here at U of M and pulling every book I could possibly find on mariachi music. And I found these great workbooks and everything that just broke down different forms, different styles, the roles that different instruments play and why, the history behind the genre. Because I know that my grandma was related to a very famous mariachi. She was cousins with the founders of Mariachi Pepe Villa.
Oh, wow.
So we always do that with that. Like, of course you're musical. I was like, it's in your blood. And so that, I spent a lot of time working on that, and there was actually a piece I wrote based off that style, inspired by the last words of my grandfather to my grandmother. Oh, wow. And so I wrote that piece for just guitar and voice, and I had to step away from it for a little bit, but I want to elaborate on it a bit more. And that piece is definitely very inspired by my heritage and just my family story. But now recently I've been doing a lot of time studying salsa music, learning about the different rhythms, the different instrumentations, the histories of it, the roots it has in Africa, Cuba, and Latin America in general. And I have lots of fun. I actually have a friend I work with who is a salsa dancer, so she's been helping me out with background about different tips. For example, the clave rhythm is very important in salsa music. And so a lot of what you write is based off of that one rhythm. It forms the structure to the whole piece. And she ended up telling me, she's like, well, that's nice, that's great, but you want to make sure that you have a very strong cowbell. It's like just keeping the beat. So because especially for beginner salsa dancers, although if you're experienced, you follow the clave rhythm to dance. But if you're a beginner, you end up following the cowbell because it's much easier. It cuts through all the other instruments, and it's much easier to find. So I like learning little tidbits about that to help with my writing. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. But
no, that's great. We want to know as much as we can about you because you are a really awesome musician. And
thank you.
Yeah, I say that honestly. That's not me just kind of oh, you're good at what you do. I can say that honestly, and I think the people that are watching this video, I don't know where I'm going to put, your performance in this video. You've probably seen him perform by now, so it's obvious to you that he's really good. So we want to know as much as we can about you now, so that when you become famous, we can look back at this that's where it all started. What advice would you give to young up-and-coming musicians, especially ones here at U of M that might be going down the same path as you did? You had that moment which is very funny because I had that exact same situation right before graduation where I was like, I don't want to be a news anchor. Which is funny because I'm filming you, interviewing you. But what advice would you have for people that maybe are a music major that think of doing it, and especially those that were in your shoes that are in something else but their heart is in the music? Yes.
Okay. So there are two really big things that I cannot stress enough. The biggest one is you need to find a mentor, and mentors if possible. And I don't know why, but there seems to be this hang-up about just reaching out to people. I have found such amazing support in the faculty and staff here at U of M. And I'm not even a student in the music school. I'm not affiliated with anything other than the fact that I take classes with my elective credits. And the reason why I'm able to do that is I actually reached out to the dean the moment I found out I wanted to do this. I told him, look, I've got all these credits. I would like to spend them at your school. And he said, sure, as long as you get permission from the professors. So from there, I just sent emails to all the professors who were teaching classes that I thought were interesting. I introduced myself, gave them a bit of my background, told them that I wanted to take their class, and they all welcomed me with open arms. I have yet to be rejected. Still a little bit of time. I could get rejected, but they've all been incredibly supportive. And they go so much more beyond just what's in the classroom. I had one amazing professor, Professor Karen Fournier, who teaches music theory here, and she continues to be such a tremendous source of support, where I would, every day after class, every class, I would stay a good 30 minutes afterwards just talking to her, trying to learn whatever I can, saying, this is something that interested me, can you elaborate on it? She was so patient, so helpful. And then just every professor I've met has wanted to support me. And I think it's really because I reached out, and I opened my soul a bit to them, tell them who I am, what I want to do, and it resonates with people. And so I cannot stress that enough. If you need help, you need to reach out for it. Even if you don't think you need help, you need to reach out and find people. You need to find mentors who can teach you and who you can trust and they can support you. The other one thing I would say is you have to maintain curiosity. I was like, you can never just sit there and go like, oh yeah, I know everything that I need to know. I'm good. I know I've got my little shtick here that I do. Whether it's in your field or not, you have to maintain constant curiosity and wanting to learn more. That's what's driven me to grow so much so quickly as a musician and to learn so much is constant curiosity. And even my background in psych and social work has a huge impact on how I write as far as where I draw my inspiration. And I had one friend who asked me about my composition process. And I broke it down. I was like, well, first I start with this. I go and move here. It's a bit long, so I won't do it right here. But afterwards, they just sat there and she was like, yeah, I can really tell you have a background in research in that music. It's like, because everything is very methodical. That you break it down, you take this big piece, like a big piece of music, and you break it down measure by measure based off what you want to achieve. And it's very methodical. And it's because of my exposure to research practices and standards that I have this unique approach to music that has served me very well. And I try to foster that by continuing my curiosity. I still in psychology and social work. I still maintain an active role in entrepreneurship and the psychology of creativity. Just anything that interests me, I try to read up on it. And I encourage you to do the same. It's definitely something that's helped me a lot.
Nice. And thank you for that, because I feel like a lot of people are going to hear that, and that's going to be, I think that's something that people really need to hear, especially, you see somebody at the top, or, and you wonder to yourself, well, how did they get there? And I think it takes a lot, so.
Yes, very much.
Nothing is, Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, of course not. No, yeah.
So I guess my last question is, well, I guess it's a two-part question. One, what's next for Stephen? And
Okay.
two, oh, sorry.
No.
And two, what is your biggest dream?
All right. I've got answers for both of those right now. All right, so what's next is applying to the Masters of Composition. I'm probably getting rejected, but I'm going to apply anyways. Let's say I've been rejected once before. The moment I found out that I wanted to do this, I applied, I went right for it, got rejected flat out, like within a week or two. So I didn't even get one of those notes. They're like, now don't take this as a reflection of your talent as a musician. It was like, no, we don't have room for you. Boom. It's like, I was like, what? That took me a moment. It's like, all right, maybe this was just like a huge flash. Maybe it was just a phase. I'm going to stick to what I'm used to. I was like, no, I'm still going to do this. And that's when I started taking all the classes, meeting these amazing mentors. So my resume and my application are much, much stronger than they were. But it is an incredibly competitive program here. So I'm trying to keep my hopes from getting too high. But so if I get in, that's great. If not, my next step would be to continue working on the musical I'm working on right now, as well as apply for a program out in New York that's hosted by BMI. You apply, and if you're accepted once a week for 2 years, they have a class where you actually get taught how to compose for musical theater. It's the only program like it in the country, so that's something I'm very interested in. But I'm staying optimistic. Regardless, I'm going to do something with music, And I've got a couple good degrees behind me. So even if I don't get to go into a music education, lots of composers don't. So I'm staying optimistic. Either way, I'm moving forward after this. And the other one was my goal, like my dream goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely to have a production on Broadway, right? It's a lofty dream, and I know what the chances are, I know what the statistics are, but I've always been a believer that just because something's unlikely doesn't mean that you can't go for it. Because someone's got to do it, and the only way that you have a chance of it being you is if you actually reach for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd much rather reach for it and fail than never try at all. So.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for taking your time out to do this.
Yeah, thanks for talking with me.
Yeah. And I'm going to force you out of your comfort zone,
All right.
and I'm going to make you sing.
Ah.
Make you feel
Oh, okay, sorry. So this piece I'm about to perform is, or have performed, wherever you put this in. This piece that I'm about to perform is from a musical that I am actually working on with with a couple colleagues of mine, a couple mentors. It actually happened, I think I talked with you about this, but I went back home for a musical that my old high school was putting on, and I ran into the accompanist who always played with us when I was in high school. And she found out that I was writing music now, so she put me in contact with the guy who always built the sets for our productions. Because it turns out that he was working on his own original musical called Remodel. The whole premise is, it follows a bunch of different characters as the main character is remodeling his kitchen while his family's away. And the whole point is that each character represents different ways gender norms impact individuals from day-to-day life. So in this piece, one of his buddies has shown up to help him out with remodeling the kitchen. And his friend is in the midst of what might be a very messy divorce. Turns out that his wife had a gambling problem that she kept hidden for quite a while. And she ended up losing their house, they lost a lot. And so now there are a bunch of mixed, confused emotions. And he's trying to figure out whether or not he should divorce her. So I had a lot of fun writing this piece. I wanted to explore the nuances of that back and forth. Lots of people, I know I did, experience after a breakup, where I'd be going between like, screw them, I'm better off without them. You know what, life's nothing but up for me. And going back and forth, like, oh no, I'm never gonna find someone again. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just the really highs and really lows and playing on the different emotions. So with this piece, the two characters have different degrees of masculinity. The main character, who's trying to help his friend through all this, is very in touch with his effeminate side. He's a very good father, very loving husband, helps around the house. And so this weekend with his buddies doing a construction job, it's really like, yeah, man's work. He gets to be a man again. And then suddenly his friend needs some emotional support. And so I'm having some fun with it. But this is the actual first draft I've written for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
All righty.
I can still remember the first time that we kissed. It was on our very first date. It was awkward because, well, I missed. But she didn't mind. She thought it was charming. I still landed a second date. For 25 years, I thought we were happy. How could I be so blind? Why should I still love her after everything she's done? She can't be the same person who for years I thought I loved. 'Cause if she were the person here his buddy comes in. I can't begin to imagine the shit you're going through. Scroll up a little bit. But if I can make a suggestion, here's what I would do. Just say fuck that bitch, enough time's been wasted. I'm done thinking of her. Sure, things really do suck in the moment, but I know that I'll recover. I don't care if I never have to see that bitch again. You get it? Okay, good. Sing it with me. Fuck that bitch, enough time's been wasted. I'm done thinking of her. Sure, things really do suck in the moment, but I know I'll get recovered. I don't care if I never have to see that bitch again. Alright, then it goes back to his friend. I never wanted this. Leaving was never the plan. Scroll up a bit. But still, I don't think that staying is something that I can do. I really don't like the idea of her finding another man. What the hell is wrong with me? I want to hate her for all she's done. But all I can do is just sit here and think about everything that would be lost. Alright, then there's going to be a piece in here of dialogue that I'm still working on. But then it jumps right back into the refrain with fuck that bitch, enough time's been wasted. I'm done thinking of her. Sure, things really do suck in the moment, but I know that I'll recover. I don't care if I never have to see that bitch again. Then after this, I'm planning on including a reprise of the refrain, but this time introducing some counterpoint melodies between the two characters, where we really see it, his emotions about this whole ordeal fleshed out, and deciding that he really doesn't want to actually leave his wife. But of course, his friend's just singing, fuck that bitch, enough time's been wasted. I'm done thinking of her. Sure, things really do suck in the moment, but I know that I'll recover. I don't care if I never have to see that bitch again. Noticing that his friend stops singing, he tries bringing it back in. See that bitch again. See that. See that. At which point the song ends, and they actually get to the root of what the issue is. But yeah, that's one of the pieces that I've written. Thank you.